What's going on, everyone? This is going to be part one of what I'm calling the BS challenge. And I don't know if this is going to be funny or stupid or serious or some combination of the three. But basically, this came about because when I did my video talking about the new core rulebook for Classic BattleTech, where they're apparently going to take out the Total Warfare rules for combined arms and replace them with battlefield support, which was in the Mercenaries box, I realized that I never have actually played a game with battlefield support, with the assets, that is. I've never used the assets, the vehicles, the VTOLs, the infantry, because I read the rules and they just didn't interest me at all. And so I said, well, if I'm going to talk about this and I'm, saying that they shouldn't do this, maybe I ought to try a game with them. So I'm going to play one game with these two mechs going up against a set of battlefield support assets. Then I'm going to run the exact same mission going against vehicles, VTOLs, and infantry using total warfare rules. And we're just going to see what happens. Most importantly, though, we're going to find out once and for all if these guys over here are going to let the mechs be the stars of the show. These battlefield support assets, that's their goal according to Catalyst. We want the mechs to be the stars of the show, and the total warfare rules just don't allow that. So we are going to put an end to this once and for all. We're going to find out if the mechs can finally be the stars of BattleTech. All right, everyone, here is the map that I have set up. And for part one, we are going to do the battlefield support assets for the combined arms side. And to be honest with you, I actually ran through this. I had already done this mission. I already did it with the Total Warfare combined arms rules as well. And I was just doing a straight up death match. And it just felt kind of weird. And so I thought maybe I can do a different mission that's a little more akin to what you do in a campaign. Because according to Catalyst, that's what these are really designed for, is using them in a campaign like the Battle of Tukayed, which is where these originated. And, they're just there to be an obstacle to the players, but they're not going to be a huge dominating force that's just going to wipe the mechs out, right? That's the goal, is they're relatively easy to destroy. They're going to put up a fight, but the mechs are going to win the day. So I thought maybe we'll do a breakthrough mission. So these mechs are going to start on the far side of the map, and their goal is to go from this side all the way over to this side. And you'll see that I have a movement objective over here. And that's because to make this a little more interesting, I'm going to use the aces cards to somewhat control the mechs. I'm not going to let them completely control them because they'll probably start going after this VTOL and just miss and miss and miss, which will be silly. So I'm going to use them for intention, but I'm not going to let them totally run the force. But they will add a little bit of variability. I won't be playing against myself. So the goal for the assets is going to be to stop the mechs. And I'm going to do it in kind of a major victory, minor victory kind of thing, where if the two mechs are able to get completely off the map, they get a major victory, total loss for the assets. If the mechs only get one unit off the map, that's a minor victory. If the assets prevent either mech from getting off the map, then that's a major victory for them. I guess if they destroy one mech, it'll be a minor victory, so they'll both get a victory. I don't know. It'll be like a Pyrrhic victory for both of them. We'll just put it like that. But that's basically the parameters of this. And the way I'm going to set it up is these two are going to, like I said, deploy on the very far left. They're going to walk onto the map. And these units can deploy anywhere on the right half of the map. So this hill's kind of right in the center. They're going to deploy on this half. And we're just going to see what happens. So I think I'm going to start them like this. And I am going to hold any kind of commentary about this until I'm done with both sides of the mission. But as part of this, I did have to reacquaint myself with the battlefield support rules. I had read them when I got the Mercenary Kickstarter box, and so I was familiar with them, but I had to reread them to get ready for this. Let me tell you, the rules in this book are awful. They are just terrible. Like there's some things in here that just are, you're just totally left up for interpretation. So I'm going to give you an example of that. But for combat, what I was struggling to understand, because if I pull up one of the units we're going to have here, which is the Ontos, when you look at their damage, it says 9 times 4. So to me, in my classic BattleTech head, I thought, okay, I'm going to roll 4 pairs of dice for each of these 9 hit clusters. But when I read the rules, it just says each asset can only make 1 attack per turn, regardless of how many damage value groupings it applies to its target if it hits. It doesn't give an example of what combat is like for an asset. So I left that up to interpretation, but the way I understood it was I'm going to roll just 2 dice to see if the attack hits or not. If it hits, then I roll 4 dice to see where the damage groupings go. So I'll roll 4 different sets of dice, and then each of these 9 group clusters will be applied to a different part of the mech. If I'm wrong, please let me know, but there is nowhere in here that it gives an actual example of how this works. And I'm like, you're asking people to learn this and use it, but there's no example of how it actually works. The rules are also just all over the place with stuff like it says you don't use an attacker modifier for the unit because assets don't choose a movement mode. They just have a set amount of movement points and that's it. They don't have stand still, walk, run, nothing like that. That's what it says here. But then because I have an LRM carrier in the mission, I'm going to use indirect fire. So you come over here and it says the asset can't expend any MP if it wants to use indirect fire for that turn. It also loses its TMM, even though previously under movement, it tells you, oh, even if the unit stands completely still, it gets its full TMM. Part of me is just thinking, like, I don't understand. This is supposed to be easier, but then you have to learn this whole set of rules, and there's all these exceptions to the rules that they're explaining. And I'm like, I don't know. Is this really easier? I guess we're going to find out. And I guess I'm going to have to replace my VTOL, which I've knocked over. Let me show you what units we're bringing, and then we'll get started on the mission. All right, here is the asset side. So these are the 5 battlefield support units that we're bringing. We've got an Ontos, which is like a super bulky, heavy hitting tank. It mostly does damage at short range. You'll see the range brackets are 3 hexes, 6 hexes, and 9 hexes for short, medium, long. But it does have indirect fire 1, which means for that attack, its range bracket is 7, 14, 21. Yeah, okay. Then we have an LRM carrier. I wasn't going to bring this originally. I was going to do an SRM carrier, but because of the way infantry work in battlefield support, they're kind of nerfed, like big time compared to how they are in Total Warfare. So I figured their best use was a spotter. And so the LRM carrier will take advantage of that. I just thought it'd be a better use of these assets. Got a Pegasus, which should be interesting. Does a lot of damage for this little thing. That'll be fun. It is short range, but it does have fairly high movement. And then we got a Warrior VTOL. I mean, it only does 2 damage. You can see in the damage indicator there. That's all it does. I guess I'll kind of use it as maybe a spotter, but maybe just a way to harass the mechs. Compared to the warrior under Total Warfare rules, this is pretty weak. But stuff like the Ontos and the LRM carrier can hammer a lot of damage compared to classic BattleTech Total Warfare rules, which you have to roll on cluster tables and you can miss some of the weapons, stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is use the lower of the 2 skills. So each unit has a 6 starting skill. You can upgrade them to a 5. I'm going to upgrade them all to a 5 to make this a more even playing ground. And the battle value comes out to around 2,500. So if you multiply the gray values in the top left by 20, you'll get their battle value supposedly. And it's about 2,500, I think, when I calculated it. So it's definitely less than the mechs, but they definitely got some firepower here. They can do some damage. All right, and here's the mech side of things. We've got a Warhammer 7M and we've got a Zeus 9S. The Zeus is probably one of the best mechs in the game, in my opinion, at least at standard technology level. It's a great sniper, great weapon loadout, really good. Warhammer is just a brawler. It's still pretty good. It at least doesn't overheat like crazy like the original version does. But actually, neither of these units can really overheat unless they go crazy. So heat's not going to be a huge issue in this battle. But I thought these were a good match because they are heavy hitters. We want the mechs to be the stars of the show, so let's let it happen here. Their battle value goes up to about 3,100, I think. So definitely more than the assets, but I feel like it's a pretty fair fight. It's a breakthrough, so it's a lot of things can happen during this. As I mentioned, I'm going to use the aces cards to control them a bit, at least just a general sense of what they want to do. I'm including the movement objective special order so they will move toward the other edge to escape. The Zeus is a sniper. It's on the sniper deck. Warhammer's a brawler. Those are way up here. They're real tiny. And it's going to use the brawler deck. And then I'm going to use the Mech Warrior command card set and start on card 8. All right, I think we're ready to get going on the mission. Initiative is meaningless in this battle because one of the rules for the assets is that they have to deploy and move before anything that's not an asset. So the mechs are not assets. So these things have to go first no matter what when it comes to movement. That is one of the ways that these are completely nerfed. Another thing is that they always get a set amount of movement points no matter what. They do still have to spend movement points to turn. So if they change a hex side, they have to pay 1 MP for that. They are restricted to the normal terrain rules that other things are, but there's nothing like side slipping for the VTOL or the Pegasus. So those won't do side slipping. There's no movement mode for them. So it's fairly straightforward. They have a set number of movement points and they just use those to move around the battlefield. They do take damage, but it's not persistent. So you will keep track of how much damage they've taken in the round. And if they take enough, and I'll show you an example on a card. So for this Pegasus, for example, down at the bottom here in the check, it says threshold 5. If this takes at least 5 damage during the round, you'll roll to see if you hit this check number. If you do, it's destroyed. If they're not, you degrade that check down 1. So if I don't hit the 7, it goes down to a 6 the next time. So eventually they're just going to get destroyed automatically because they might get down to a 2 and you're just going to blow them up no matter what. I will start the mission. I'm going to take these mechs off the board and they're going to come on. So I will move this stuff first and then I will do the mech movement. I'm going to just summarize this. I will show you a couple early just so you can see how the assets move. I will show you something really interesting on the aces side if it warrants it, like if there's a really cool or interesting way that it converts Alpha Strike into Classic. I'll show you that. But for the most part, I'm going to keep the movement pretty quick and then we'll just get into combat because that's where things are really different between Total Warfare and the assets. So one of the ways I was really surprised at how they nerfed these units, because I knew about the damage checks and I knew about them having to go early in initiative, so they have to go before anything else. I didn't realize they nerfed the movement points. I was very surprised by that. So something like the Ontos here can only move 3 hexes, right? It has 3 movement points. So if it turns or anything, it's down to 2. I couldn't believe that when I saw it because this thing is going to be, I mean, it can move forward here, but if these mechs get behind it, I mean, it's hopeless to try to catch up to them. So the maneuvering is so gimped on these things. So anyway, I'm just going to move this forward 3 hexes. That's why I lined it straight so it could at least get into it. And they just get a set TMM. And this TMM is a 1. And they get that no matter what. They get that if they move the full 3 points or if they just stay where they are, they get the TMM. So that part is interesting for something like a VTOL. They don't even have to move. They can get their full crazy TMM and just stay exactly where they are. But then the LRM carrier, if it wants to use indirect fire, it has to give up its TMM. It has to stay still, and now it doesn't get a TMM. You tell me if this makes any kind of sense. So that's what I'm going to do for the LRM carrier. I brought it for indirect fire, so it's just going to chill there. And then for something like the Pegasus, like I mentioned, it doesn't side slip. So normally, if you're using running movement or flanking movement in classic BattleTech, if this thing moves and then it makes a turn, you have to roll to see if it continues this direction. Like the pilot lost control a little bit, and during this turn, it kind of slips further ahead. Most of the time, it's not a big deal. But if it slips here and it crashes, it's destroyed. Or if it slips into the woods, which it's not allowed to go into, it's destroyed. So there's definitely some things to worry about when it comes to side slipping. But in BS assets, you don't need to worry about that. All right, that's where I moved the assets. I'm going to take advantage of the VTOL's crazy ability to sit still and still get its full TMM. And the VTOL is going to start at level 4. I'm just going to have it at level 4 so it can't run into any terrain or anything. It's above all the terrain. This is the highest here, level 3. So it's just going to be at level 4 for the whole game. It gets a 4 TMM. I'll show you the card. So its TMM is a 4. However, when you attack an airborne unit in Classic BattleTech, they get a +1. I think that's the case in Alpha Strike as well. So I just mark it with a 5 just so we all know that it's a 5 to hit. So these things are very difficult to hit. All right, there's the movement for the mechs. Nothing incredibly interesting because they don't have a lot to work with on this side of the map as they're coming on. But the Zeus wanted the Ontos. It was starting over here. So wanted the Ontos. And so the best it could do was just move straight ahead and get some cover there. You know, in Classic BattleTech, the units build a TMM the more they move. So the more hexes they travel, the higher their TMM. So the maximum the Zeus and the Warhammer can get is at 2, but they have to use running movement mode to achieve that, which is going to give them a +2 when they attack. The Warhammer wanted the Condor and it wanted to get cover from it, so it just moved ahead and got itself near the woods there. I got to watch out for the Aces because they really love cover, and that's going to slow them down. So if they want to try to win, they can't stay in cover all the time. They got to be careful about that. Speaking of cover, I just want to point out that I just made templates for the woods, just like in Alpha Strike. So this triangle here, all the hexes in there are light woods except the middle with these double trees. Those are heavy woods. These in a line here, same thing. Everything in that line is woods. The middle with the double is heavy woods. I don't want to have like 40 trees on the map. It's then I have to keep moving them to put the units in them. All right, let's get into some combat and let's see what happens. So well, it doesn't matter who goes first, I guess, once you're getting into combat, but I will do the assets first. All right, let's start off with the Ontos, which is just barely in range for its normal attacks. It does a ton of damage, 9 times 4, 36 damage if it hits. Not good numbers here. So the Ontos has a skill of 5. It doesn't have an attacker modifier that's already included. The Zeus has a TMM of 2, so we're up to a 7. It has partial cover from the level 1 hill in front of it, so that's an 8. And it's at long range, which will put it up to a 12. It needs a 12 to hit this. Got a 7, no luck. Okay, the Condor has similar numbers, 5 skill, 2 TMM on the Warhammer, 1 for cover in the woods, and long range, so it also needs a 12. Welcome to Classic BattleTech, 8, no hit. So cinematic. The VTOL is going to fire down at that Zeus. This will be a little bit of an easier number because it's at level 4, so the partial cover doesn't count. It's at an elevation higher than the Zeus, and it has very long range weapons, but it only does 2 damage. All right, the VTOL just needs a 9. It gets it. So we're going to re-roll that now to check the location on the Zeus. Coming in on the front, that's an 8. That'll be the left torso on the Zeus for 2 damage. And if you're not super familiar with Classic BattleTech, the Zeus has a ton of armor on its left torso. It's got 25. So 2 out of 25 on that left torso. All right, the LRM carrier here does not quite have line of sight on the Zeus, so it's going to use indirect fire. It's going to use the infantry as a spotter. Now, the infantry are on level 0, just like the Zeus, so it is going to have a partial cover penalty for that terrain. I realize I didn't pick the dice up. Sorry about that. Now, what gets weird here is the spotter suddenly now has a movement mode, and it's running. So it would be a +2 to the indirect fire attack. However, the infantry have the spotter ability, and the infantry are also excluded in the rules. So they'll be treated as they have standstill movement, which they absolutely should have. That's what makes infantry good, is they're pretty good spotters. The VTOL, on the other hand, is not excluded. So the VTOL as a spotter would still have a +2 modifier to the indirect fire. So it's like, again, they nerfed the VTOLs now, so they're much worse spotters than they are in Total Warfare rules. All right, so I added this up, and I actually think the LRM carrier can't make the attack. I think it's a 13 because it's 15 hexes away, which is long range, and there's a +1 for indirect fire. So that's going to put it up to a 13. Here's where it's weird because it stood still, but the assets don't have a movement modifier. So if I look at this indirect fire explanation, it just says it does not count as moving when calculating its target number. Okay, it doesn't get a TMM, that's fine, but it also doesn't count as moving, but they never count as moving. They don't have an attacker modifier. So it's like that there's nothing in there about reducing the attacker modifier to say, okay, they actually get a -1 because they're standing still. So they have a 4 skill instead of a 5. This is what I mean about this rule book. It's like, I don't know. It's all it does is basically say, go look at Total Warfare. It's like, I thought this was the alternative to Total Warfare. Why do I have to look at Total Warfare? Anyway, I don't think it can make the attack. All right, the Zeus is going to go first. It wants a unit within 12 hexes, which the Ontos and the infantry both are. It wants the unit on the yellow list, which is lowest TMM. So it's going for the infantry in the woods there. This is going to be real interesting because normally infantry, when a mech attacks it with big weapons like the Zeus has, like a PPC, an ER large laser, it does hardly anything to the infantry. But under BS rules, it's a different story. All right, again, if you're not familiar with Classic BattleTech, I'm not teaching the game, but I'm just going to show you. These are the weapons that the unit has available to it. Different weapons, different ranges, different amounts of heat that they build up. I did pick 2 units that have really good heat management, so it's not like we're going to have to deal with heat too much. It is interesting. It's a great part of BattleTech. It's what makes it so tactical, but it's not super interesting for me to say, oh, I'm overheating, I'm overheating. But in any case, I can choose which weapons I want to fire. I can only reach with the first 3, the ER-PPC, the LRM-15, and the ER large laser. So we'll roll those individually. And then for the LRMs, there's a separate roll that you make to see how many of the 15 missiles hit. So it's going to be 9s. I'm going to get the old dice tray in here. We're looking for 9s. And we got one with the ER large laser. That's the purple. Sorry, I should have mentioned what they are. The blue was the PPC, the orange were the LRM-15, and the purple is the ER large laser. So unfortunately, the least amount of damage. So for the infantry, they just take the full brunt of that attack, so 8 damage. We don't track exactly where it goes. I don't make a separate roll to see what hits. So the threshold for the infantry is a mere 1. That's it. So they've taken 8 damage. That means they're past the threshold. So at the end of this round, they will make a destroy check. If I roll an 8 or higher, they are destroyed. And in Classic BattleTech, I normally use a pink die to represent a piloting skill roll for mechs at the end of a round. I'm going to use it for the destroy check. So the infantry have qualified to have a destroy check at the end of the round, but they don't have any modifier to it. It's just a straight, if they hit an 8, they're dead. So I'm just going to put a 6 there to represent no modifier. Once you hit 11 points of damage taken, you get a +1 to that roll. And for every 10 points after that, you get another +1. So if they did 31 points of damage, it would be a +3 to that roll. And so if you were asking why the infantry didn't attack, they have a range of 3, so they can't reach anything. The mechs did not overheat. The Zeus can sink 34 points of heat. The Warhammer can sink 36 points of heat. So the Zeus was right on it. The Warhammer was at 32. So no heat to track. So the only thing we need to do here in the end phase, since nobody can make any physical attacks, is roll the destroy check for the infantry. There are no bonuses to this. It's just a straight up 8. If we roll an 8, it's dead. It survives. So when that happens, and thank you for BS, now I have to have dry erase markers when I play Classic BattleTech. So what happens is now that destroy check gets degraded by 1. So if that infantry takes another point of damage, it's going to be a -1, so I only have to hit a 7. And I could get bonuses depending on how much damage I do to it. This is so difficult moving these things before the mechs go at all. It's very weird because the Pegasus, normally I'd hold that till the end, but because it has to go first, I just have to guess where those things are going to move. So I just did the best I could. I split the difference here. One thing I didn't mention is assets have a 360-degree firing arc unless their card has the no turret special ability. So if you look here on the warrior, it says no turret. That means it just has a front facing arc. And the front facing arc in Classic is different than in Alpha Strike. So you take the rear hex side, but you use the two hex sides next to it to make a V, like a cone shape. And that's the way that it can attack. If something's here, the warrior can't attack it. That's not in its front firing arc. The arc would be something like this. You take its rear hex side, it would look like that. And then on that side. So it's kind of this cone here in front of it. So with units like that, you got to be careful. The same goes for the LRM carrier. It also has no turret. All right, these aces cards aren't really helping things. They just want cover so much. But the Warhammer wanted to pick the Condor and get closer to it, but it wanted to get cover. So what I did was I just moved it 2 hexes forward, kept it in the woods. Again, this is a template, so it's in a woods hex right now. So it has no TMM. It used walking movement, so it has no TMM with a white die, and it has a green die with a 1. I'm just using that to indicate an environmental benefit. So everything that attacks it will have that +1 because it's in the woods. The Zeus had the weirdest card. It wanted to get in the woods, but it didn't have enough movement to get there. But it still wanted to get cover. It was like, eh. So I just moved it also with walking up to here to give it partial cover from these two. And so it gets, again, it's only getting that benefit on this side. So things that have to look through that hex to get it, that's all it gets the benefit from. So the Condor, if it attacks it, it does not have a benefit, but I'm guessing I'm guessing myself is going to attack the Warhammer because it's so much closer. So we could see some serious damage this time, but this is Classic BattleTech. Lots of missing happens. All right, the Condor is going to take advantage of that 360-degree firing arc, going to shoot at the Warhammer. It's in short range. It's just going to need a 6 to make a hit, and this could do a lot of damage to the Warhammer. That's a 7. So I'm going to roll 3 different groupings now. So here's the Pegasus card. So I roll 3 groupings of 7 damage each. So I need 3 pairs of dice, and we'll see where these go. Okay, here we go. All right, we got left arm, center torso, left torso. So 7 points to each of those. All right, the Ontos is up next. I think it has a 10. It's got a 5 skill. It's going to get this partial cover for a 6, and then it's at long range. It's at 8 hexes, which is long range for the Ontos. Let me show you the card again. So its range brackets are 3, 6, 9. So that's going to be long range. Needs a 10. Oh, wow, it hit. This is going to really, really hurt. Okay, this is going to be 36 damage coming in. 4 times 9. Okay, we've got another left arm, 9 damage. Right leg that's 18 damage, and left torso. Almost. This actually isn't that bad. I forgot that the Zeus has partial cover, so these leg hits don't count. Oh man, I was really getting worried. I'm like, wow, its leg is already going to be crippled. But yeah, good thing I got that partial cover. Okay, that looks much better than I feared. So 9 to the left arm, 9 to the left torso. Sorry, I marked it in pencil the last time when I took the 2 from the warrior, but those 2 on the top left on the left torso also were hit. All right, the Zeus is going to torso twist to its left, fire back at the Ontos. It's obviously 8 hexes away. It's going to have 8 on its 3 primary weapons, the long range ones. They're in medium range, so it's a 4 skill, 5 for walking, 6 TMM, plus 2 for medium range. The pulse laser, it's going to shoot a medium pulse laser as well, which is at long range, but it gets a -2, so it's also going to be 8s. So everything it attacks with is going to need an 8 to hit. Again, same thing. Blue is PPC, purple is ER large laser, orange is LRM 15. 8s. That looks okay. The 2 big ones missed, unfortunately. So the medium pulse laser hits, that does 6 damage, and the LRM 15 I have to roll on the cluster table. It's a 5. I think that's 9 missiles. So that's going to do 15 totals. So that's going to trigger a destroy check on the Ontos, and it's going to get a +1 because it did more than 11 points of damage. So whatever I roll will get a 1 added to it. All right, Warriors going for the Zeus again. Just needs 7s this time because there's no TMM for the Zeus. It ignores the partial cover. It misses. The LRM carrier crew is so excited they can actually make a good indirect fire attack against the Zeus this time. They only need a 9. That's it. And this thing does a ton of indirect fire damage. Hey, 9 coming in. It got it. Uh-oh. I think indirect fire has no partial cover ever. Yeah, it ignores partial cover, so those leg hits will still count. All right, so this thing is going to do 7 clusters of 5 damage. Okay, just to show you real quick where I'm coming from with this, When it has IF7 down at the bottom for the special, each IF number is a grouping of 5. So it does 5 damage times 7. Tell me how this makes sense. So if it attacks directly, it does 3 times 9, 27. But if it attacks indirectly, it does 7 times 5 for 35. Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna roll these for fun. 7 groupings, I'll figure it out. All right, we got 10 going to the left arm, which is already damaged. 10 going to the left torso, which is already damaged. 5 going to the right torso, and 10 going to the left leg. Look out. Okay, left side of this mech is in bad shape. Man, I don't know. Maybe I should just take over and quit letting the aces walk me into no TMM. Okay, yeah, a lot of damage there. All right, we're in the end phase. The Warhammer got up to 5 heat, so it's going to take a 1 movement point penalty. So that one's done. I'm going to take off these dice. The Zeus overheated by 3. So the card didn't tell it to overheat, but I'm cool with it as long as it stays under 5. I think that's fine to say it's not overheating. So that's where we stand with that. We're going to make 2 destroy checks, one on the Pegasus and one on the Ontos. So the Pegasus has a check of 7. If I roll the average, it's dead. No bonus to this, just a straight 7. It is not dead. It will degrade by 1. So just like before, I'm just going to write a -1 here. So that means next time if it takes damage, it's going to do a 6. This is not good for the mechs because the mechs need to take something out because the next round they're going to get crushed again because all this stuff is real close. I mean, we can avoid that LRM carrier, but this Ontos is going to wreck the Zeus. So this Ontos needs to die. Ontos has a destroy check of a 9. This is a tough one, but if we roll high, you never know. Nope, another low one. So it's going to degrade as well. -1. So they're all still on the map. They're all still going to F these mechs up. Let's see what happens. All right, this is where I moved the assets. I just kept these sitting still. May as well. It's better to use indirect fire for this thing, even though it's a slightly higher to hit. It does way more damage, so may as well keep that there. No reason to move the VTOL right now. The Ontos, I was going to keep it where it was, but then I thought if the Zeus wanted to get around this way, it could go down here and then take that option away to get out of line of sight. And then the Pegasus is the one I don't know what to do with it because nothing is moved. So I figured I'd just bring it this way to harass the Zeus. Kind of gives the Warhammer a way to just walk off, but you know the aces don't do that. The aces will be like, go after the VTOL. It's close. So yeah, that's where we're sitting right now. We'll move the mechs. I probably should not have let the aces control these units. I thought it'd be a good idea, so I'm not playing against myself, but getting up here was just so dumb for the Zeus that I feel like it's just a foregone conclusion it's going to die. This is the best I could do is just take it up over here, use all of its movement to get here to at least give it partial cover against everything, except the VTOL, of course. But the LRM carrier has direct line of sight to the Zeus now, so it wouldn't be able to do. I mean, I guess it can still do indirect fire if it wants. I think it can. Numbers wise, that probably wouldn't be very smart. The Warhammer, I had to follow a movement objective card rate, which I don't think I did. You know what? Now that I'm thinking about it for the Zeus, I didn't because it's not any closer to that movement objective. I'll figure that one out. But the Warhammer, it wants to get closer to that, of course. It wanted to get behind this unit, which it did. It's behind it technically. It wanted to get closer to it, which it couldn't do. It wanted to occupy woods, which it couldn't do. I mean, I guess it could have gone here, but I'm going to move it out. Like, this is a breakthrough mission. It's got to move. Yeah, I'm just going to forget the aces card. I'm going to put it here because really the only thing I could do is to walk here, which is basically going to give the Pegasus an auto hit. It's going to be a 5 to hit. So at least here it's somewhat protecting itself. Like I said, maybe I should just take these things over. I don't like playing against myself though. All right, the Warhammer is going to torso twist and shoot down that Ontos. I feel like we're going to waste a lot of rounds shooting and trying to kill this thing and not succeeding. But that's what it's going to try to do. It's going to just fire 2 ERPPCs and try to cool down a little bit here. Yes, that's right. It can fire 2 ERPPCs and cool down. All right, the Warhammer needs 9s on its 2 ERPPCs. 4 for skill, 2 for running, 1 for TMM, 2 for medium range. Come on, 9. Absolutely nothing. All right, let's get the mechs out of the way. The Zeus is going to fire at the Ontos. The card tells it can overheat by 1, but I don't think that's very smart. I did it with the Warhammer, and it was kind of dumb to do that. So I'm just going to fire the 3 primary weapons. They're all in short range, so these are just 7s to hit. Oh my god. This is ridiculous. The rolling is so bad. The ER large laser hits. That will trigger a destroy check, I believe. Threshold 8. Yeah, just barely. That does 8 damage, so it just barely triggers a destroy check. By the way, the Zeus could have attacked the infantry, but the card wanted a unit attacked by the ally. So that was the Ontos, which, to be honest with you, I want as many destroy checks on that stupid thing as possible to get it out of here. Speaking of the Ontos, we're going to have it go first. It's going to try to punch some holes in this Zeus, which it's already been doing. Not going to have very good numbers, though. Going to have a 10 because it's at long range. It's 7 hexes, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, exactly 7 hexes. So it's 5 skill, 1 for the partial cover, and then long range for 10. Let me roll this. Nope. All right, the Pegasus is going to take a chance at the Zeus. It will hit from the left attack direction if it's successful. It needs an 8, 5 for its skill, 6 for the partial cover, and medium range. Needs an 8. Got it. So this is going to be 3 times 7. All right, just like before, leg hits will be ignored, but these are coming in on the left side table. I do use the advanced hit location table, so anything to the center or opposite torso will be in the rear. Okay, we got a left arm. That is not good. We've got 1 leg hit, so those 7 are gone. And left torso rear. No, sorry, we're on the left side, so that's left torso front. Okay, yes, both of those are going to do a critical, and this unit gets the Crit Seeker special ability, which means because it has SRMs, I think, it gets a +1 to its critical hit checks. So now I only have to roll a 7 or higher to roll a critical hit. This is fun. I can see why they're having the mechs be the stars of the show. Okay, 7 or higher. The blue was the left arm, the yellow is the left torso. And wow, we escaped. Ooh, that was close. So that was a 7, but that's not enough to do a critical hit. All right, VTOL is going to attack the Zeus again, just needs a 7 to hit. Gets it. Okay, roll for location. Center torso. Okay, I have an interesting decision to make with the LRM carrier. It has direct line of sight to the Zeus, so I think it would have an 8 to hit it, which isn't bad. Or it could attack the Warhammer for a 9 in short range. I feel like I want to put some damage on the Warhammer, but we could just unload on that Zeus. The only problem is because all these units are moving this way, nothing's going to be able to check the Warhammer. Like that Ontos can only move 3. So the Warhammer is just going to be able to get away from it no problem. I feel like it's maybe smarter to try the Warhammer to at least put some kind of damage on it. Because, yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, what is going to chase the Warhammer? Going to have the Pegasus do it. If you disagree with this, let me know. But I did the check. It's a 5, 6, 7 for the Warhammer's TMM. The infantry have to look through the woods, so that's an 8, and then a +1 for indirect fire. It's at short range, so that would be a 9. But I think something has to damage the Warhammer. It's going to easily get off the map. Oh, okay. Well, it didn't matter. All right. Well, thanks to the mech's pathetic shooting, only the Ontos has a destroy check, and it's going to be on an 8. So it's not very likely. But I mean, at this point, if you're playing this, I mean, wouldn't you think it's a little ridiculous for the Ontos to get destroyed right now? I mean, it's barely taken any damage. And yet, if I roll an 8, it could happen. Here's the Zeus, by the way, if you're curious. This is what it looks like. Lots and lots of damage, but luckily no crits. Fortunately, the left torso does not have the ammo. So even if it did, by the way, I need to track ammo, I know. But yeah, that's the one you're worried about. But this side does not have any ammo in it. All right, let's do that destroy check on the Ontos. Just as a reminder, it has a -1 for degradation, so the check is now an 8. Here comes the roll. Just a 5. Now it degrades again, so now the destroy check is just a 7. All right, here's how the movement shook out. I moved the Ontos this way, again, kind of figuring the Zeus is going to try to escape this way, so just trying to get as close as it could. The Zeus actually was able to get off of there and move pretty far, so it was facing this way, so it was able to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, get a 2 mod, and stay out of short range from the Ontos. So I thought that was pretty good. It can be attacked by the Ontos and the LRM carrier. But the Warhammer, after the movement, again, it's hard to know what to do with these two. They have a lot of movement, but they have no reference point. I just did the best I could. I figured the Warhammer's going to go forward, so the Warrior moved around to try to hit it in the back, and then the Pegasus tried to come up and help too, because this thing could easily get off the map. So I'm trying to play it how I would if I was playing against somebody else. Like, yeah, I think I've got this thing cornered, but that thing can make a run for it and something's got to start attacking it. But then I worry that if this thing gets away from the Ontos, now it can make a beeline for the end and nothing can really get to it. So these are some of the challenges you have in Classic BattleTech. You know, it's definitely pros and cons. It's hard to know exactly what to do. Another interesting thing from Battlefield support, units don't have a minimum range. So this LRM carrier, which would normally be in minimum range and have a +3 modifier because the Warhammer is only 3 hexes away, it doesn't. I'm trying to figure out, where does this make the game easier? It's just different rules that I have to remember. Normally, these just operate like mechs do. They have the same minimum range, same weapons. It's pretty easy to remember things. I just have some different tables to look at for damage and criticals and for the motive hit system. In Alpha Strike, you have a motive hit table. It's not that big of a deal. But I don't see anywhere where this is like, oh, this is so much simpler. I mean, I still have to track stuff. I got to remember how much damage they take, whether they had a destroy check. And now there's all these other little rules where things change. Oh, when you stand still, you get your full TMM. Oh, well, no, you don't, because you're using indirect fire. So like this one, I guess I got to say it's a 1, right? Because I might be using direct fire now. So I don't know, man. I'm just not seeing where this makes things easier, except that these things can blow up and not need a full record sheet to keep track of. But to be honest with you, I wish I was doing the full record sheet right now, because the amount of jumping back and forth at the rule book that I'm doing to make sure I'm doing this right is not making this very fun. All right, let's just get the one that matters out of the way here. We got the Ontos firing on the Zeus. It's going to have 9s, 5 for skill, 2 for the TMM, 2 for medium range. That's going to be 9s. Here we go. It whiffs. It got an 8. See, there you go. So now it just looks like stupid. It did nothing. Meanwhile, if it would have hit, it could have, I don't know. It could have done something pretty serious, but it does nothing. And now I look like an idiot for moving the Pegasus that way. All right, the Zeus unfortunately has to torso twist, and it can only use its left arm weapon to attack the Ontos, but it's going to do it. That's the ERPPC. Then it's going to make a second attack on the infantry over there. And the infantry actually came out of the woods because I'm trying to figure out a way they can somehow get in range on the Zeus. So they don't have any cover this time, but it's going to make a secondary attack there. That'll be a +1 to do that. Here we go. ERPPC needs a 7. Got it. So that's 10 damage to the Ontos. That will trigger a destroy check at the end of the round. Actually, I checked the line, and unfortunately, it goes right along this hex side, so it cannot attack the infantry. So that's all it will do on its turn. All right, the Pegasus is up next. It's going to attack the Warhammer. I think it's in the rear, and it's going to need a 10, though. It has 5 skill, +1 for TMM, +4 for long range. Needs a 10. Not going to get it. VTOL is going to attack. Just needs a 6. Got it. See the location. I think it's coming in on the left side. So got an 8. I think that is the center torso. That's going to be center torso rear, though, if it's coming in on the left side, because I use the advanced hit location tables. All right, if I draw the line for the attack direction, it goes directly through the VTOL. So that means the Warhammer gets to decide, does it come in on the left side or the rear? And I think I'm going to choose the rear because it's going to hit the left torso, which has no ammo in it. So I'm going to pick that one for it versus the center torso. All right, and finally, the big one, the LRM carrier is going to attack the Warhammer. The Zeus numbers were terrible. I don't even know if it could have made it. I think it could have, but it would have been really bad. It's only 7s to hit it from here because there's no minimum range, which makes total sense, right? Why would the LRM carrier with LRMs that have a minimum range not have a minimum range? But anyway, okay. So just 7s, that's all it needs. It's going to do a lot of damage if it hits. And it does. Gets a 7. So it's going to do 3 times 9, I believe. Yeah, 3 times 9, pretty brutal, even though not nearly as bad as the indirect fire version. Again, try to make sense of that. Here we go. Hopefully nothing too horrible. Looks like we got left arm. Leg hits will be missed, by the way. I don't think we have any, but they would have been missed because it does have partial cover. So it looks like we've got, that's going to be 9, that's going to be 18 to the left arm. There's an update on the Warhammer. That left arm went internal, so there's going to be a critical hit chance. And the center torso is looking pretty, not great. Might have to turn its rear to all its enemies at this point. All right, critical chance coming in. No crit seekers, so it's just an 8 or higher for a critical. It gets 1 critical hit, so this is in the left arm. So the yellow is going to be the upper or lower, and the blue will be the actual critical hit. It is a lower 1. So on the left arm, the lower, which is the 4 to 6, and the number 1 is the ERPPC. So it just lost its ERPPC on the left arm. So definitely going to use it this round. Hey man, you hit me. That's BS. Anyway, the Warhammer is going to fire back. Pretty much all it can hit here is the LRM carrier. It's going to need 7s to hit back because the LRM carrier does not get partial cover. Vehicles can't get it. It's going to fire everything. It's going all the way. So purple and blue are the PPCs. Red and green are the medium lasers. And the orange is the SRM-6. 7s it is. Both PPCs miss. That stinks. Okay, so it's going to do 10 damage, and it's at least going to hit 1 SRM. The max it can do is 12, so I guess I'll roll it just to see if I just happen to get a 12 here. I did not. So it's going to do whatever, 2 missiles or something, but just enough to give it a +1 to the explode check. So there we go. In other words, it's 10 for the medium lasers and then some amount here, but it's not going to be 22. All right, I went ahead and cleaned everything up. The Warhammer went up to 7 heat, so it's got another -1, but luckily it didn't get up to the +1 for the weapon attack, so just has a -1 movement penalty. It's going to be hard for it to attack things now. It's going to have to walk toward the movement objective and then turn. So we'll see how that works out. We really need this stuff to die, like real bad on this round. Again, like the LRM carrier in Total Warfare rules would have no risk of being destroyed right now unless it was a super lucky critical. But this is BS, so there's a chance it could die. So I guess we'll do the LRM carrier first. LRM carrier has a check of 7, but since we did 12 damage to it or 14 damage, whatever it would have been, it will get a +1 to whatever I roll here. So we need a 6 or higher to destroy it. It's gone. Wish I would have rolled that for the Ontos. So it's dead. Okay, the Ontos now. The Ontos is taking a couple rounds at this. It's going to have a -2 to the check, so I need to roll 7 or higher to destroy it. If we destroy this thing, it's pretty much over. No, it's going to it's going to survive again, and it's going to have a -3 degradation. So now we only need a 6 next round to get it. I kind of wonder if I should have rolled the first time for the Ontos and gotten rid of it. But at this point, it can only hit in relatively short range. So this can move quickly to keep it at least in medium. Well, actually, no, it could turn and go this way to get it in short range, but it probably only has one more round where it's going to be really at risk. The Warhammer is going to be able to outrun that Pegasus even with 8 movement. See, and again, in Total Warfare, this could move only 5 hexes now. The Pegasus could move 12 with flanking movement, but under BS rules, they get nerfed on movement. It can only move 8. So the Warhammer can almost outrun it. All right, there is the movement. The Ontos turned and went this way to try to cut off the Zeus. The Zeus decided, forget it. Just get close. Again, I'm kind of taking over because, the card for the sniper is going to be like, just run away, just get in cover and hide. And the Zeus can't really do it. So it's sharing a hex with the Ontos. So that means if it survives the weapon attack phase and it's still upright. Oh, and you know what? Oh, I'm just thinking now I forgot to do piloting skill rolls. I'm so sorry. There were quite a few times I had to do piloting skill rolls on these things. Oh my God. See, I'm forgetting because I'm doing 2 different systems. I'm doing weird damage with the BS stuff. Ugh. Yeah, I should have done it last round actually because this took 27 points of damage. So I know it had that one and I know it took 21 from the Pegasus. So yeah, hold on. Let me go back here for a second. I'm so sorry. And the Zeus, I think only one time, right? Might have even had it on 2. I might have to watch some of the video here and refresh my memory. All right, I'm really sorry about that. This is the problem with playing 2 different sets of rules. Is I'm in the mindset of there are no piloting skill checks, just destroy checks. So I'm not even thinking about it. But going back, the Warhammer took 21 points in the woods here. Should have had a piloting skill roll. I don't know what I'm going to do about the movement because if it falls, then that would have majorly changed what happened here. In any case, I'm going to roll saying that it needed a 6 to not fall in the woods. If it falls, I'm just going to apply the damage, but we'll just continue on where we are. So it needed a 6. Okay, it got the one in the woods. So we're all square on the Warhammer. The Zeus is the tough one because the Zeus here took 18 from the Ontos and then it took 35 from the LRM carrier. So that would put it at about 53. Would have done 53 total points, which in my rule book would be a 7 or higher because it has a 5 piloting. It would be a +2 to that piloting skill roll. So it would have needed a 7 to stay upright. So if it fell, I mean, they could have just piled on it. So it would have definitely changed what happened here. Anyway, let's see if it would have gotten the 7. It would have. All right, great. So we're all square on the Zeus. Okay. Hopefully you're okay with that application of the rules. Now, the LRM carrier just hit the Warhammer and did 27 points of damage. It has a +1 to stay upright, and I forgot to do it, so it needs a 6 to stay upright. It got it. Okay, all right, no harm, no foul. Everything's good. Okay. The BattleTech gods are happy now. Okay, so in that case, then it moved here. It got out of the Pegasus line of sight, and it's going to try to help out the Zeus a little bit. I think the line of sight there is going to not pass through the woods. So it could potentially help out with the Ontos, yeah. Or it could take a shot at these guys. We'll see what happens. All right, let's start with the easy one. The Warrior is going to attack the Warhammer. It just needs a 7 to hit. It's whopping 2 damage. Got it? It's going to be in the rear again. It's going to be 3, which is the right arm, 2 damage. All right, the Pegasus has no line of sight to anything it can actually attack. The infantry only have a 3 hex range, so they can't attack. So we're going to go to the Ontos. And I moved the Zeus actually out of the hex because I forgot you can't do weapon attacks to a unit inside your hex, only physical. Technically, the Zeus can do more damage with its weapon attacks, even though the physical attack would be easier. You know, whatever. So the Ontos is going to attack the Zeus. It's just going to need a 6. Yikes. It missed. Oh well, doesn't hit anything. I mean, I don't know that much about the Ontos, but I'm pretty sure it has 8 medium lasers. I'm even looking at the model. Yeah, I think it has 8 medium lasers. So it just feels so incredibly ridiculous rolling one all or nothing attack with it. It just, I don't know, man. It doesn't work for me. Okay, the Zeus now is going to make a weapon attack and not a physical attack. It will not be able to kick this thing because you can only kick vehicles in the same hex as you. So it's just going to need 7. So it's going to attack with its ER PPC, ER medium laser, and medium pulse laser. The blue and purple need is 7. The green need a 5 because their pulse, they get a -2. Oh my God, seriously, this is just absolutely unbelievable how bad I'm rolling. Okay, just does 6 damage. So unless the Warhammer helps, it will not have a destroy check. My rolling is so bad. I just can't believe it. Okay, Warhammer's going to try to help its buddy the Zeus out and attack that Ontos. It's going to be 9s for. Oh, it only has 1. I forgot. It only has 1 here, PPC. Well, whatever. The only other thing you can shoot at is the infantry, and that's just a waste of time. So it's just going to have 1 PPC. Needs a 9 to hit. Come on, Warhammer. Nope. All right, there's an update on the 2 mechs. We squared away all the piloting skill rolls. Luckily, there was no retroactive stuff I had to deal with, so that's good. But the Warhammer lost the PPC, which happened last round, so couldn't use it this round. Both have quite a lot of damage. Zeus mostly on the left side, Warhammer on the left arm and the center torso. So they're starting to degrade, but they're going to be able to kind of get in the clear at this point. So they're going to get pretty close to that movement objective. And the Warhammer cleared its heat, by the way, because it only used 1 PPC, so it was able to wash all of its heat. It would need to get pretty close to something to do any serious damage, and that's going to be weird as it's trying to run away, but probably would make the most sense. Of course, I'll look at the Aces cards and see if they make an intelligent decision, but probably to go this way and keep helping out the Zeus so they can both escape. All right, there's the asset movement. I don't really feel great about any of these, but at this point, I don't really know what else to do. Like the Pegasus needs to be able to help. It has such short range that I'm just going to put it right next to the Warhammer. So no matter where it goes, the Pegasus can at least try to help out a little bit. Ontos, same thing. Like I'm making both of those so the mech can attack its rear, but I don't know what else to do. The stuff has to move this way. So where do they go? There's not a lot of good options. This thing can barely move. So I did the best I could. If the Zeus wants, it can go here and do double damage when it attacks. But my rolling is so horrible that that's not that's not a guarantee. All right, that's where the mechs ended up going. I think I held to the Aces cards. I mean, the Aces wanted this for the Zeus, the highest point value. It wanted lowest structure, lowest armor, but these things don't have that, so it had to go to point value. It wanted that. From this position, it can technically torso twist and then use its right arm to attack. It'll have this line here, so it can attack with its right arm weapon, LRM 15. The Warhammer wanted the Pegasus. Sorry if I call it Condor. I do that a lot. The best thing I could do is just move it straight this way to get closer to the movement objective, but now I can torso twist and attack both of those units, actually, depending on what it picks in combat. Probably the Pegasus. All right, we'll get the big boy out of the way. Ontos going first. I think it's attacking in the rear attack direction, so this would be on the rear table for the Zeus if it hits. Going to need a 9. 5 skill, 6, 7 TMM, 8, 9 medium range. Needs a 9. Gets another 12. This is the second time the Ontos has rolled a 12. Yeah, this is going to really mess up the Zeus badge. Okay, we're hoping for lots of leg shots here. Nope, that's going to be the left arm, which is already jacked up. That's going to be the left arm, which is already jacked up. We got right arm, right arm. There you go. Ouch. Left arm totally destroyed. It actually hit 9 right there. And then it went into the left torso. And so it's going to get a critical on the left torso. I think I'm doing this right. Sometimes the crit transfer thing is a little confusing to me, but I'm pretty sure that because the second attack actually hit structure in the left torso, that critical transfers because it hit there, not here. All of its damage went in the left torso. That's why I'm going to play it. So that's going to take out the ERPPC. So that's very unfortunate. All right, crit chance on the left torso. It's not a crit seeker, so it needs an 8 or higher. Could take out the ER medium laser. Or sorry, ER large laser. No crit. All right, the infantry are within 3 hexes, so they get to attack. But unfortunately for them, it's going to be an 11 to hit because they're at long range. They can only do damage from 1, 2, or 3 hexes. So it needs an 11 to hit. Ooh, no. All right, Pegasus needs a 9 to hit the Warhammer. Got it. Oh my God, man. I'll tell you, for them being the stars of the show here, it's not really working out too well for the mechs. 21 points of damage, and I got to mark that Zeus for a piloting skill roll. Okay, so that's coming in on the left side, I think. So we're gonna have, that should be center torso rear, that'll be left torso, and that will be, I think that's actually the right side. All right, so left torso took 7, center torso rear took 7 because I use advanced hit tables, and the right leg took 7. Boy, I'll tell you, this Pegasus is like a world beater in this BS system. It's crazy. I mean, the Pegasus is a pretty good unit, but good grief, it's doing 21 damage. It's crazy. And finally, the VTOL needs a 7. Gets it? Wow, the BS guys, they can't miss. And it is, I get to decide if it's coming front or rear. And I'm going to just pick the front and take it in the right torso. All right, the Warhammer wants the Pegasus, so it can torso twist and hit everything with all its front weapons. It's going to use everything. It's missing an ER PPC, so it can do this without overheating. The PPC is going to need a 9. Everything else needs an 11. Okay, PPC hits, nothing else hits. But we did get a destroy check on it, so PPC hits for 10. That's going to put a destroy check onto the Pegasus. We just need a 6 to kill this thing. The Aces card says the Zeus should take the Condor, but it's going to be 12s to hit with anything. It has to go through that tree, just barely. So I don't think that's a good idea. So I think instead it's going to torso twist this direction, and it's just going to fire one LRM-15 at the Ontos. This doesn't feel great, but I mean, what's the point of rolling 12s? This is such a bad spot. But anyway, let's see if we get a 9. Nope, we don't. Doesn't matter anyway. Okay. I got to say, this has been way more difficult than I thought. I figured we were just going to blow these things up because, isn't that what they're here for? They're supposed to be like the video game. That's exactly what the rules creator said. They're supposed to be like video games. Yeah, well, they're not. They're sticking around. They're almost about to destroy 2 mechs. So there is no heat. These units now, they can't even fire enough things to generate heat anymore. So we're all good there. But they both have a piloting skill roll, and this has a destroy check. We're gonna do the destroy check first. I hope I roll real nice and high, but it has a -1, just needs a 6. This is unbelievable. Okay, whatever. Sticks around again now. Okay, got it. It's degraded to -2 now, so it's only a 5 to blow it up. I mean, this is kind of my gripe with this, is that it's just a luck fest. If you roll lucky, they die. If you don't roll lucky, they just stick around forever. Let's do PSRs. We'll do the Zeus first. Zeus has a +1 for taking 30, whatever damage. Needs a 6 to stay upright. Doesn't, it falls. All right, I'll deal with that in a minute. Warhammer needs a 6 as well. Also falls. Okay, Zeus fall. Okay, it's going to fall in its front. It's an 80-ton mech. It's going to take 8 points of damage. The blue is going to be the 5. The orange is going to be the 3. So right torso and the left arm, which is going to be left torso, that's going to crit because that's already internal. I really thought this would be over by now. All right, going to roll up the crit chance. Needs an 8 or higher. Of course it gets one. Okay, so blue is the upper or lower in the left torso. Orange is the actual number. Lower 4. There it goes. That's the ER large laser. So the Zeus is pretty much just an LRM-15 at this point. It needs to run away real fast, but now it fell, so it really can't. All right, let's do the Warhammer. Also falls on its front. Huh, that's funny. Going to do the same thing. It's 70 tons, so it's going to be 5 and 2. Okay, right leg for 2 and left arm for 10. That just destroys the left arm completely. So, I mean, the ERPPC was already gone, but it's going to lose a heat sink now. Okay, so that's what we got. And then I forgot to do the right leg there for 2. Okay, so it did just enough to destroy the left arm. So everything in there is gone. It did lose a heat sink, but it shouldn't need that anymore because it can't fire the other ERPPC. They just need to run away. I forgot to roll to see if they take any injuries. So I have to make another piloting skill roll for each of them to see if they got injured on the way down. So it was a 6 for each. So we'll do Zeus first. It fails, it takes an injury. This is unbelievable. So it needs a 3 to stay conscious. It got that. Okay. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, at the top here is your warrior. So it took a hit because it fell. It didn't pass the piloting skill roll. So it takes a hit. And then you have to roll the number underneath it to see if the pilot stays conscious. If they take 6 hits, they're dead. Okay, Warhammer. Let's see if we can fail this one too. Needs a 5. No, 6. Sorry, it was a 6. Okay, got it. All right, Warhammer's okay. Now I'm going to roll to see if they can stand up. So we'll start with the Warhammer. It needs a 5 to stand up. It can stand up. And I'm using running movement mode. So it uses 2 points to stand up. It spends a heat to stand up. I guess I'll just move it 3. He'll go there and he'll just torso twist on his turn. And he just gets a 1. Probably going to get messed up again this turn, but that's just kind of what's been going on. So the Zeus is going to try to stand up now. It also stands up. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just making a beeline for it. All right, I'm going to speed up a little bit here just because I think the numbers are going to be generally pretty terrible. The Ontos will go first on the Zeus. It's going to be 11s, 5, 6, 7 for the trees, and it's 7 hexes away, which is long, so that's 11. Okay, I was going to say it's rolled 2 12s, so it could do it. Infantry can't attack. I think the VTOL is actually going to attack the Warhammer because it has more rear damage. So it's going to be a 6 to hit. Got it. Once a 7. Got a 7. That's 2 to the rear center torso armor, which is now gone. So I'm real glad way back when that I decided to take the left damage when it was up here on the hill. And you know what? Now I'm going to walk this back one. Sorry, I'm going to go like that because if I go here, this is attacking on the left side and I don't want that. Okay, speaking of, we'll do the Pegasus, which is also going to have a 6. Oh my God, it finally missed something. Thank God. Okay, that's huge. All right. The Warhammer actually has a decent number of weapons. So it's going to fire back. It's going to have a 9. That's right. It's going to have a 9 from 1 hex away. But it's going to fire all its weapons. The purple is the PPC, 2 medium lasers. The orange is the SRM. Need 9s. Got nothing. Unbelievable. This is just so crazy. All right. And the Zeus will just fire its LRM 15 at the Pegasus. It's going to be an 11. I don't think it can really hit anything else at a better number. So it just needs an 11. No. Wow, what a thrilling round of combat. Okay, nobody overheats, no destroyed checks. So the good news is we just roll right into the next round. So that's good. I think it's safe to say the mechs are going to at least get 1 off of the map because the Ontos is out of the game now. The warrior can plink at 2. The infantry can't do anything. So it's just down to the Pegasus what it can take out. That's where the assets move. The Pegasus was the hardest. I wanted to just put it here to try to block the Warhammer, but all non-assets are allowed to walk right through hexes that have them. So I think the Zeus just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Zeus can't do a whole lot right now. And at this point, it just needs to get off the map. So it'll go there. The 2, that gray dice, by the way, is just indicating that it has missing weapons. I think I took it off of the Warhammer, which I should not have done. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just get the 1 TMM, but I'll get the +2 because it's outside of short range. But that movement right there made it real hard to decide what to do. All right, I'm going to let the Pegasus go first just because it can punch more holes. And it is in the right side arc. So it's going to roll a 5, 6, 8. Needs an 8 to hit. Gets it, because of course it does. The Pegasus is by far the star of this show. It is not the mechs. The mechs are these side characters, these circus music villains that are just getting clowned in this battle. The Pegasus is #1 star. So way to go, BS. All right, 3 clusters of 7 damage from the right side arc. That sucks. That's center torso rear. That's going internal. That is right torso. And that is 5, I think, is right arm on the right side. All right, there you go. That's what the Warhammer is looking like. It did get internal on the center torso. It was the right arm that it took and the right torso. So we're going to have a critical check. And wouldn't you know it, the Pegasus is a crit seeker. So it needs a 7 or higher to do a crit on the center torso. It misses. Okay, thank God. All right, VTOL is going to go next. It still needs a 6. Oh, missed this time. Okay, so no extra damage to the Warhammer, but the Warhammer will get a piloting skill check again at the end of the round. Maybe I should have checked my firing arcs before I moved there, because the Warhammer, if I torso twist this direction, the front firing arc is this line, so it's behind it. Whoops. All right, but it can still use its right arm weapon, which would be the ERPPC. So it desperately needs to hit here. So it's going to be an 8. Just needs an 8. Can you roll a stupid 8? No, I suck. All right, the Zeus is within medium range with its LRM 15. Gonna give it a go. Needs an 11. Gonna make a PSR with the Warhammer, needs a 6 or higher. That's a fail. Okay, a 2, that's gonna go 1 to the right, and then it falls on its right side. It can hit the rear center torso, so it could get more crits. All right, it falls. I gotta make, sorry, before I forget, I gotta make a check for the pilot, 6 or higher. Got it. And so it's gonna be 5 and 2. Orange is the 2. That sucks. That's a head hit. So that's 5 points to the head. It's an automatic pilot injury. And then a 6 will be the right torso. No, that won't be. That'll be the right leg. All right, there's a Warhammer. Head damage. Takes an automatic wound. Got to make this 3 to stay conscious. Got it. All right. That's where I moved the vehicles. Again, the Pegasus, I don't know what to do with it. You know, the VTOL is great. You don't have to move anything and you still get your TMM. It can just keep plinking away at the Warhammer. I just put the Pegasus there to kind of start moving toward the Zeus, and then the Warhammer has to decide to either come and attack it and put itself in danger with the Ontos, or turn its back to it. Those are my thoughts. So this is just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's no reason for this thing to stick around anymore. Then I'm going to roll to see if the Warhammer can stand up. Needs a 5 or higher. Nope, can't. Falls again. 6, so I think it goes all the way around and just falls on its butt. So it went 1 hex side that way. Now it falls here. This Warhammer is probably going to be dead. So we make a roll to check the pilot, 5 or higher. Got it. Now we roll for damage. This is on the rear table, so any 7s are going to be real bad. Yep, 2 points. So 5 to the right arm and 2 to the center torso rear. Going to roll up the crit chance right now. 2 crits. This is going to be real bad. All right, blue's upper lower, orange is the crit. Lower 3. That's a fusion engine hit. Okay, and the second one, upper 4. That's a gyro. That's going to make it almost impossible to stand back up. So I'm just going to throw a pink on here just to say that it's a +3 to try to stand back up. So it's going to be an 8 now to try to stand up because of that gyro hit. Got it. Okay. So it can stand up. I'm going to stand it up in this direction, and I'm going to just go right here, and it's going to get that was running movement. It's just going to go there. Yeah, now the Ontos is back in the game now too. All right, I'm just going to let the Warhammer go first. It's going to try to hit the Condor. It needs 9s on everything. Got it with the PPC. All right, so we're gonna have a destroy check here. Yay! All right, and then the Zeus, I guess, will turn and just again try to flank it with that LRM 15. Yeah, it's gonna be an 11 again. So close. Now it's time for the assets to show who's the star here. It's not the mechs, it's us. All right, Pegasus will go first. Why not? Gonna need a 5. It missed. It missed. Oh, okay. See, the mechs really are the stars. All right, the Ontos will go. It needs a 9. Missed. VTOL. Gonna need a 5. Got it. Right arm. That right arm's starting to fall apart here. Okay, let's do this destroy check on the stupid Pegasus. If this thing doesn't die now, I'm gonna lose my mind. I think it's a -2. I thought it was a -3. I guess that's the Ontos. So just needs a 5. Just a 5 to kill this thing. Thank God. It's finally dead. What a pain in the neck. That was the best unit on the board. Unbelievable. Okay, that's it. So I'm going to do the movement. At this point, it's over. The mechs are going to get off the map. Barely, but they are going to get off the map. The only thing that can attack now is the VTOL. So basically, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then this one, I still can run full speed. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1. Of course, I'm supposed to move the assets first. Sorry, I'm getting a little tired here. But it doesn't matter. I mean, the Ontos would go 1, 2, 3. That's where it would go. The infantry don't matter. They're just going to go there. Who cares? And then the VTOL, if I would have moved it, I would have just moved it like forward 2 hexes or something, which I don't even need to do. It could just stay exactly where it was. Yeah, it'll just stay where it was. It has an 8 hex range, so it really doesn't make any difference. See if the VTOL can crit the center torso rear on the Warhammer. Needs a 6. Hits. If it rolls a 7, there's a chance. Oh, or that, or that. So that's a critical. It's a through armor critical. I do floating critical, so I'm going to re-roll this. That would be center torso under normal rules, but I'm going to re-roll it. And it's his left arm, which is destroyed. But that would transfer into the left torso, which is not destroyed, but that has plenty of rear armor. So that would just take 2 to the rear armor, and that's going to do it. Both mechs successfully make their way off the map, but holy crap, that was not easy. That was not easy. There's the Warhammer. I screwed up, by the way. I did. I thought I hit the right leg. It was actually the right arm. So just, it's not critical on the right leg. But there you go. That's how it ends up. That's how the Zeus ends up. They both are going to run off on the next turn, and they will get the major victory against the battlefield support, which I guess, I guess the mechs were the stars. I felt like the Ontos was pretty fair. The LRM carrier was fine, although I don't understand the point difference for indirect fire. But the Pegasus was amazing. That thing, holy crap, that is well worth the points. I feel like that is almost worth more than the Ontos. It has so much movement comparatively and does a lot of damage. All right, there it is, the final carnage. I mean, that was interesting. Like I said, this is my first, well, it's my second time playing with the battlefield support. The first time I felt like I had no idea what the heck I was doing. This time I felt more comfortable with it. But wow, I mean, I don't know, I didn't feel like they were just the mobs that were there to be blown up. I mean, they were dishing out damage left and right. You know, and at first I thought I shouldn't bring the infantry, but actually I was glad I did because the LRM carrier, I think, had a successful indirect fire attack. So that actually worked out okay. The VTOLs aren't good spotters. They get an extra +1 to their spotter movement, which is just dumb. The Ontos had 3 destroyed checks that it survived, had a -3 degradation. The Pegasus had a -2. Finally took that thing off the map, but wow, that lasted a long time and that dealt a lot of damage. The mechs are mangled, especially the left side. Man, they really took a lot of damage on the left side. Things got a little scary for the Warhammer at the end there. It took the engine hit and it took the gyro hit, which I got to double check. Was I supposed to do something when it ran at the end there? Shoot, I was. I was supposed to do a check. God, hard to remember all this stuff. Okay, but yeah, when I ran at the end, I had to do a highlighting skill check, and that would have been an 8. I could have failed it. The first 12 for the mechs. Okay. All right. I would have survived that fall. And then it gets off the map. It doesn't have to do a PSR after that. So I think we're all set. I'm sure I missed like 500 things. Everyone will comment and tell me what I missed. Please do. Please tell me all the stuff I missed because I don't know. Sometimes the camera really messes with things and you really forget a lot. But yeah, so I guess my conclusion so far is that I did not think these were easier to run in any way whatsoever. Like, other than not having to fill in bubbles on a sheet, I did not see how this made the game easier. Am I missing something? I don't know. I had to keep looking at rules because they played differently than these guys. And it's not like, oh, well, you just ignore this or you ignore that. Yeah, you ignore the attack or movement modifier unless you're doing indirect fire. Okay, well, these things, when they stand still, they get the TMM. Oh, but when you're using indirect fire, now you don't get the TMM. Okay. You got the crit seekers for some reason, like they needed a higher chance to get a critical hit. I don't know. Too many different rules. It's again, like I said in my video about the classic core rulebook that's going to change and use this instead. You're learning another set of rules on top of this. So I don't get how this makes the game easier, but it certainly did not for me here. Maybe if you played with it a lot, it would just become snap. It's so simple, but I really don't see how that would be the case. Anyway, that's it there. I feel like the mechs were not the star of the show. So whatever goal they're trying to accomplish with this, I don't feel like it succeeded. These things were definitely the stars, especially the Pegasus. I thought the Warrior was pretty good. They just nerfed the damage too much. And the Ontos was pretty good, but it's so slow with the reduced movement. I don't understand that. Why are you reducing the movement for these things? What is the point of that? I mean, you take something like this and it's pretty much useless. As soon as something runs past it, it's over. I don't get that. And that was the surprise to me I mentioned before. I did not know they did that. And for something like the Pegasus, it would be even more useful with its full movement. So I don't know if they gave it like, oh, it gets Crit Seeker and gives up movement. It gets more damage because it's giving up movement. I don't know. But so far, I would say no, it does not help make this game easier. I do not feel like this was easier than regular Total Warfare rules. Again, you're trading off looking up all these different rules for this for having to look at a motive table. I mean, that's basically the difference when you play Total Warfare. And you don't have big sheets. I guess this is easier, but if I wanted to do this, like if I wanted to have 10 combined arms against the mechs, I'd just play Alpha Strike. I wouldn't bother with this. I would just play Alpha Strike. Okay, but I'll have a lot more to say after I play this with the Total Warfare rules, which is coming up next. So make sure to check out part 2.